Imagine for a second advanced aliens landing on Earth and just handing primitive cave dwellers the blueprints for nuclear weapons, or like bioengineering.
Right, which sounds exactly like a modern science fiction thriller.
Exactly. But it's actually a 2,000-year-old explanation for the origin of evil.
Yeah, we are looking at a narrative landscape today that completely redefines how ancient people understood, their world, their suffering, and really the cosmos itself.
So, welcome to another custom-tailored deep dive. We're opening up a very specific edition of the Book of Enoch today. This is the translation by R.H. Charles from 1917, and it's published by Defender Publishing.
It's a fantastic edition to work from.
It really is. And I want you to picture the cover of this source for a second, because it looks almost like an ancient artifact you'd uncover in some hidden vault. It has this dark, textured, leather-bound background covered in these really ornate, swirling filigree patterns.
It really sets the mood before you even open it.
Yeah, and right in the center, stamped in this striking, almost fantasy-style gold lettering, is the name Enoch. And at the bottom, it notes that this is from the Researcher's Library of Ancient Texts.
Which is incredibly fitting, considering the sheer scope of what we're analyzing today. I mean, this text represents a profound, ancient attempt to understand the mechanics of the universe.
Right.
And the promise of ultimate justice during a time when the world just felt terrifying and chaotic.
So our mission today is to act as your guides through 108 chapters of incredibly dense apocalyptic visions.
That's a lot of material.
Oh, it's massive. But we're cutting through the repetitive prophecies to extract the absolute core of this mind-bending text. We're talking rogue angels, trading forbidden technology, cosmic holding cells, all the way down to a bizarre glowing baby.
Yeah, to understand this ancient worldview, we really have to look at where everything went wrong. And the text offers a radical alternative to the traditional stories you might know.
Right. The corruption of the world doesn't start with, a human making a bad choice in a garden.
No, it starts in the heavens, with a group of 200 angels known as the Watchers.
The Watchers.
Yeah.
So these Watchers look down at the earth and they just lust after human women.
Exactly. And they are led by an angel named Semjaza, who is actually hesitant at first.
Oh, right. He's worried he's going to take the fall.
Yeah, he fears the other angels will back out, leaving him alone to pay the penalty for what is essentially a massive cosmic crime.
But the other angels convince him to proceed, and they descend on the summit of Mount Hermon.
Right. And they bind themselves together by swearing a mutual oath. The text calls it mutual imprecations.
Which sounds intense.
It is. It's essentially a supernatural blood pact to take wives from among humans and beget children.
But the terrifying part, at least to me, is that they don't just take wives. They trade secrets.
The forbidden knowledge.
Yes. They give humanity forbidden knowledge. And the text goes into specific detail about the forbidden arts these angels taught.
Which is where it gets really weird for a modern reader.
Totally. So an angel named Azazel teaches men how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. He introduces the mining and working of metals. And then, strangely enough, he also teaches the use of antimony for beautifying the eyelids, basically makeup.
Yeah, makeup and weapons.
Right. And other angels teach astrology, the cutting of roots, and enchantments. So going back to that sci-fi analogy, this is advanced beings handing us nukes before we're ready. Okay, let's unpack this. Grouping swords and makeup together seems so odd.
It does seem odd to us, but the underlying logic is fascinating. In this ancient worldview, altering the natural face for seduction is akin to altering the natural distribution of metals in the earth to forge a sword.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, both are unnatural manipulations of creation designed for selfish gain, domination and deception.
So leaps in technology, from weaponry to cosmetics to astrology, they weren't seen as human ingenuity.
Not at all. They were illicit gifts from rogue angels that corrupted the natural order.
Wow. So the angels give humans the tools for mass violence and manipulation before humanity is mature enough to handle them.
Yeah.
And the physical result of this illicit union between angels and humans is just as disastrous.
And the Nephilim.
Yes, the giants. The women give birth to the giants. And the text says these giants were 3,000 ells tall.
Which is just a staggering number.
Let's put that in perspective for you. An ell is an ancient measurement of about 18 inches. That makes these giants roughly 4,500 feet tall.
They're literally walking mountains, nearly a mile high.
The logistics of that are
I
horrifying.
mean, completely horrifying. And they have the appetites to match.
Right, they have to eat.
They quickly consume all the acquisitions of men, and when humans can no longer physically feed them, the giants turn against humanity itself.
They just start eating people.
They devour mankind, birds, beasts, fish, and they drink blood. The violence becomes so absolute that the text says the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones.
The physical planet is crying out under the weight of this corruption.
Exactly, and heaven hears that cry.
The souls of the dead are pleading for justice, and 4 archangels, Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel, look down and see the earth drowning in blood.
And God's response is swift.
Yeah, he commands the archangels to bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness of the desert of Dudel.
Trapping him under rough and jagged rocks.
Right. And he orders the destruction of the giants by making them turn on each other. Plus, he sends a warning to a man named Noah that a deluge is coming to wipe the slate clean.
But here's where the narrative shifts. With the giant offspring destroying the earth and God preparing a flood to wash it all away, the eternal watchers realize they are trapped.
They're stuck.
They are facing divine wrath, and they desperately need a mediator to deliver a plea for mercy because they cannot approach God themselves.
So they turn to a mortal, which is just wild. They draft Enoch.
Yes, Enoch.
These powerful, immortal heavenly beings are so terrified that they beg a human man to draw up a petition for them, to ask God for forgiveness.
And God rejects the petition outright. He tells Enoch to deliver a blistering message back to the fallen angels. You should intercede for men and not men for you.
That is a brilliant reversal of roles. But Enoch's role as a messenger requires him to see exactly what is at stake.
Which kicks off what reads like a psychedelic cosmic road trip.
Oh, totally. He has taken on a tour of the universe, guided by angels like Uriel and Raphael, and he sees the cornerstone of the earth, the treasuries of all the winds.
The foundations of reality.
Yeah. He sees a mountain range of fire and a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire. Here's where it gets really interesting, because reading this, it feels less like a traditional religious text and more like, I don't know, a high-level Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
It really does have that high fantasy vibe.
Right. He is traveling to the literal edges of the map where the laws of physics just seem to break down.
Well, and you have to remember, the ancient mind didn't draw a hard line between physical phenomena and spiritual realities. The edges of the map were exactly where the spiritual realms began. We see this when Enoch visits a mountain in the west with 4 deep, smooth, hollow places.
Right, and Raphael explains that these physical geographic features are holding cells.
Yes, designed to contain the spirits of the dead until Judgment Day.
And Enoch actually hears a spirit-making suit crying out, and Raphael reveals it is the spirit of Abel,
demanding justice against his brother Cain.
So the landscape itself is part of the cosmic justice system.
Exactly.
But the most mind-bending part of this theological geography is when Enoch sees this horrible place, a deep abyss, serving as a prison for 7 stars that look like great burning mountains.
Enoch is looking at a literal prison for stars.
Which is a crazy concept.
It is. When he asks why they are bound, the angel Uriel explains that these stars transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their arising because they did not come forth at their appointed times.
Wait, so in this cosmology, celestial bodies have moral agency?
Yes, exactly. If they disobey the divine schedule, if they are late, they face brutal justice.
Wow. So if the physical stars can be thrown in an abyss for stepping out of line, the human rulers back on Earth really do not stand a chance.
Not a chance at all.
Enoch's visions move seamlessly from the physical prisons of the universe to the cosmic courtroom where the verdicts are handed down. And this section of the text is known as the parables.
Right. And the parables introduce 2 incredibly important figures. First, there is the head of days.
Who has white hair like wool.
Yes, a figure whose head is white like wool, representing the eternal God. And with him is another being whose countenance has the appearance of a man.
The Son of Man.
Or the elect one.
This Son of Man sits on a throne of glory. But what really stands out is exactly who is in the crosshairs of his judgment.
It's very specific.
Right. It is not just some generic list of people who lied or cheated. The text specifically targets the kings and the mighty. It explicitly says the Son of Man will raise up the kings and the mighty from their seats and break the teeth of the sinners because their power rests upon their riches and they deny the Lord of spirits.
It's a very targeted condemnation.
So what does this all mean for the listener? I mean, wait, if he is specifically targeting kings and the wealthy, this reads like a manifesto for the oppressed. Was this text circulating among people getting crushed by ancient empires?
Absolutely. I mean, imagine being an ancient person subjugated by massive, brutal empires, heavily taxed and entirely powerless.
That would be terrifying.
It was. So this vision was meant to be a profound comfort. It assured those oppressed people that the corrupt, wealthy rulers, the kings who thought they were untouchable, would eventually face an undeniable cosmic tribunal.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
The text even describes mountains of iron, copper, silver, and gold melting like wax before the fire in the presence of the elect one. The very materials of earthly wealth and warfare become entirely useless.
It's the ultimate reversal of earthly power structures. And to drive home just how absolute this divine order is, the text introduces the monsters.
The cosmic beasts.
Yeah, right in the middle of these visions of judgment, it describes two massive beasts being parted on that day. You have the female monster, Leviathan, dwelling in the abysses of the ocean.
And the male monster, Behemoth.
Right, occupying a waste wilderness named Duoden.
So in ancient Near Eastern cosmology, giant sea monsters and wilderness beasts represented primal chaos and untamed nature.
So it's not just about big animals.
No, the subjugation and parting of Leviathan and Behemoth during the final judgment isn't just about dealing with giant creatures. It is the ultimate proof of God subduing the chaotic nature of the universe itself.
Bringing everything under control.
Yes, God is establishing total unyielding order over both corrupt humans and the wildest forces of creation.
And that deep craving for total, unshakable control is really the only way to understand why a visionary text filled with flaming abysses and cosmic monsters suddenly turns into an incredibly detailed almanac.
Ah, yes. We enter the astronomical book.
Right. Because Enoch's visions just shift to the portals of the sun and the moon.
The mechanics of the sky.
Yes. The angel Uriel shows him exactly how the luminaries operate, how the sun rises in specific gates, how the moon waxes and wanes, and it all results in a strict, unbending 364-day solar year.
Which is very specific.
I have to admit, as a reader, this part is bewildering. It is like finding an Excel spreadsheet right in the middle of The Lord of the Rings.
That's a hilarious comparison, but it's true.
I mean, why does the visionary prophet suddenly turn into a strict meteorologist and calendar maker?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the ancient logic behind that is rooted in the concept of divine perfection. A 364-day calendar is mathematically clean.
Oh, so?
It divides perfectly into exactly 52 weeks.
Oh, so a calendar of 365 and a quarter days is too messy.
Exactly. The messy reality of the actual solar year was seen as a sign of the world's corruption. To the ancient mind, there is no difference between spiritual order and physical order.
They are one and the same.
Yes. In Enoch's world, the sinners are the ones who alter the orbits. They miss the proper seasons. They fail to recognize the exact days.
Wait, really?
Yeah. To observe a calendar that deviates from mathematical perfection is literally a sin. It means you are participating in the chaos of the fallen watchers.
That is so intense. But I guess if the solar cycle is a predetermined, unbending mathematical schedule, then human history must be too.
Exactly. It all connects.
It is not a series of random events. It's a cosmic timetable, which explains the psychological leap into the next wild section of the text, the dream visions, specifically the animal apocalypse.
This part is amazing. This is an allegorical retelling of all of human history from the beginning to the end, but told entirely through animals.
Yeah, it reads very much like George Orwell's Animal Farm, but used to explain the entirety of human history.
Right, on a biblical scale.
So Adam is described as a white bull. His descendants are different colored bulls, and eventually the focus shifts to a flock of sheep.
Which represents the righteous people, or Israel.
Right. And these sheep are constantly being attacked by wolves, dogs, and eagles, which represent other hostile nations.
And to manage this chaos, God appoints 70 shepherds to watch over the sheep.
Who are the shepherds?
These shepherds likely represent angelic beings or foreign rulers appointed by divine mandate. But they allow too many sheep to be killed.
They fail at their job.
They exceed their authority, become corrupt themselves, and therefore must face ultimate judgment, much like the original Watchers.
So the whole animal history culminates in the ultimate triumph of a horned ram over the birds of prey.
And the transformation of all the animals back into white bulls.
Wow, so it is a vision of history returning to its uncorrupted origins, right on schedule.
We've seen the schedule of the stars and the entire sweep of human empires, but all of this macro-level prophecy eventually funnels down into a very isolated, deeply personal family drama.
Yes, and it connects right back to the impending flood we heard about in the very beginning.
It comes full circle.
It really does. We are introduced to the birth of Noah. So Noah is the grandson of Methuselah, the son of Lamech. But when this baby is born, it is an astonishing delivery.
Understatement of the year.
Seriously. The text describes the newborn's body as being as white as snow and red as a blooming rose. His hair is like white wool, and his eyes are so bright they light up the whole house like the sun.
He is a literal glowing baby.
A glowing baby.
Right.
And if the physical description wasn't enough, as soon as the midwife holds him, the infant opens his mouth and starts conversing with the Lord of Righteousness.
Which, consider Lamech's reaction.
He runs away in absolute terror.
Totally understandable reaction.
Right. He goes to his father, Methuselah, and claims the baby isn't human. He says his nature is different, diverse from man, and resembling the sons of the God of heaven.
Lamech is terrified that the Watchers have struck again.
He thinks his wife has had a child by one of the fallen angels.
Yeah, and that he has just welcomed a brand new Nephilim into his home.
Oh, man.
Think about the implications of that. The trauma of the Watchers' interference is so profound, so deeply embedded in the human psyche, that a glowing, talking baby immediately signals the end of the world to Lamech.
So Methuselah does the only thing he can do. He travels to the ends of the earth to ask his father, Enoch, who's living among the angels, for an explanation.
What do we do with this baby?
Right. And Enoch reassures him. He confirms the baby is fully human and tells them to name him Noah. Far from being a monster, Enoch says, this glowing child will be the one to comfort the earth.
He and his sons will be the ones to survive the coming deluge that is destined to cleanse the planet of the corruption caused by the Watchers.
So the flood isn't just random punishment, it's a reset.
Exactly. And the book then concludes with an epistle, a final letter from Enoch warning his children and all future generations. He tells them to walk in the paths of righteousness, to avoid the paths of violence.
A final plea.
Yeah, and he promises that despite the profound suffering they see now, the righteous will eventually shine as the lights of heaven.
Wow. It is a breathtaking journey through an entirely different dimension of thought.
It really is.
I mean, we started with angels descending on Mount Hermon, trading forbidden technology for human wives. We traveled to the literal edges of the map to see the fiery prisons of late stars. We witnessed a cosmic courtroom where corrupt kings and the wealthy are stripped of their power by the Son of Man.
We explored a mathematically perfect 364-day calendar.
Which was unexpected. And we ended with a glowing baby destined to survive the apocalypse.
If we pull back and look at the broader implications for you today, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this text serves as a powerful reminder that humanity has always sought to find order in a chaotic universe.
Yeah.
When you look at the world and see injustice, violence, and corruption, it is a deeply human instinct to believe that it wasn't supposed to be this way.
Right, that there's a design.
Exactly. Whether it is through tracking the exact movements of the sun to find divine mathematical pattern, or believing that corrupt billionaires and kings will eventually face a perfectly just cosmic judge, which is comforting.
It is. This text is a beautiful, wild testament to the human desire for ultimate fairness and order. It is a refusal to accept that the bad guys win in the end.
That's a great way to put it. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Okay.
Think back to the Watchers. They corrupted humanity not just with sheer violence, but with technology. The making of swords, the mining of metals, the manipulation of elements.
The forbidden arts.
Right. It was forbidden knowledge handed over before humanity possessed the wisdom to wield it responsibly. So, as we look at the rapid, almost incomprehensible advancement of our own technologies today, what does forbidden knowledge look like in our modern era?
That's a great question.
And honestly, are we any better equipped to handle it than the ancients were?